The following information, material, and content is covered under fair use. This is for commenting, teaching, and training purposes only. Again, this is for commenting, teaching, and training purposes only. This does not constitute tax advice, financial advice, nor legal advice. If you need any applicable advice, please seek a licensed professional. Do your own due diligence, regardless of who presents the information. All rights, titles, and actions or interests reserved ab initio without prejudice. We're going to watch a video. This clip is by a woman who knows what this document is called. Just want to give a disclaimer, credit to the original owner of the video. However, this is being used again for fair use, as it is very informative, and we're going to be using it as a teaching tool right now.
This is called a soul plate. You notice footprints on it? Your children are being prevented from actually putting their physical corporeal bodies on the inherited land by having their footprints first put on a document that becomes a negotiable instrument in the fraud. So what they're doing by putting your child's footprint on this is preventing them from putting their corporeal foot upon the land and getting their inheritance before they're contracted by the Pope. Now, this is called a soul plate. Okay, this is an original one. This is a real one. This is called a soul plate. Now, you can attorn the word all you want, but to me it means they think that they have contracted your soul. Okay, so there are all these little things that they do that people don't understand their origins in law. So the purpose of putting your child's footprint on a negotiable instrument and creating a soul plate is to contract the child by putting his actual corporeal foot on a negotiable instrument before he puts his foot on the land and gets his inheritance. So that is the origin of this act that the doctors, titles of nobility, are doing for the king and the queen and the pope. So it's a simple act, and now you know the origins of it, and now you know the law behind it. So these people are so insane that they think that because they have put your child's corporeal footprint on a piece of paper before they put it on the land, that the child is being denied its inheritance. And they are claiming, that's how they're claiming the descendants of the land before your children and before us. So that's just a little tidbit of law that you have to read a book that is 800 pages with a lot of annotations to find. Again, just a simple fact. I know I haven't posted in a while, but it's something that I found, and I wanted to share just this crazy little tidbit of law that are being used against us. So, if you all want to stop your children from being having their inheritance denied, stop letting doctors put their feet prints on contracts before they put their foot on the land and claim their descendant inheritance. So that's what I have to tell you.
So, that woman very clearly stated what that document is. As a soul plate, a contrivance or an artifice to convey and defraud the soul, the spirit of a man or woman, via the mode of binding the soul of the foot, because that also inherently binds the soul within the body. So they're using various modes of witchcraft to cast these spells upon people and to deny children their inheritance. What is that inheritance? The natural state of abundance, the natural right, the inherent inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Also noted therein are many case precedents that talk about the rights to property or properties, as your inherent genetic constitution is involved. So these are something that they deny you via presumption of death to alienate your interests. So, what is the remedy, you might ask? Because equity will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy. So, and the remedy lies in understanding the true nature of the soul and understanding, its relation to the body. So it's something very important to note that, I would not answer to anyone calling for somebody, as, if you answer to that, you're agreeing that you are only a body. This is why there's a difference between somebody and someone. When you speak and, refer to or call for someone, you are requesting the spirit or the soul inside the body, as opposed to the, somebody or nobody. Likewise, the converse for the soul is someone or no one. So, bearing that in mind, we look to Manly P. Hall. Manly P. Hall was a very widely noted Freemason, held in high regard in those fraternal organizations and among those circles. Now, mind you, I don't endorse, Freemasonry or anything like that. However, there are scriptures that talk about, the wicked falling by their own counsels. So, ChatGPT very kindly gave us plenty to work with here. So, out of the secret teachings of all ages, quote, "Man is a soul, not a body. His true nature transcends the visible physical form, which is but a shell, a vehicle through which the soul expresses itself." End quote. Another quote by Manly P. Hall, quote, "Man is an eternal soul, veiled in the physical form. Earthly documents, symbols, perhaps the all capital letter name, continuing, or laws cannot touch the true essence of the self, for these are of the material world. The soul transcends all such artifices." End quote. I apologize if I butcher this. G.I. Gurdjieff. In All and Everything. Quote, "The soul, when recognized, rises beyond the laws of men, for it was not made by them, and it does not belong to them. Legal doctrines are mere shadows in the presence of eternal truths." End quote. Rudolf Steiner, Theosophy. Quote, "The spirit and soul are of the divine, ungoverned by man-made structures. Documents of birth and death pertain to the flesh, but they hold no power over the divine spark which animates life." End quote. And we have one reference by Aleister Crowley. In my opinion, he was someone that was not of the best character. However, like I said, all of these people on the lists are mainly occultists, good or bad. Like I said, I'm not endorsing all of their ideologies, I'm just talking about what they stated in these references. Quote, "The word of sin is restriction. O man, refuse not thy wife, if she will. O lover, if thou wilt, depart. There is no bond that can unite the divided but love. All else is a curse. Accursed be to the eons. Hell." End quote. We have Helena Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine. Quote, "No worldly law, no document of state can ever bind the soul to the physical plane. It is but an illusion, a fleeting shadow in the cosmic dream, while the soul belongs to the eternal, end quote. And another quote by Manly P. Hall in The Wisdom of the Knowing Ones, quote, "The power to declare ownership over the soul belongs solely to the divine. No earthly institution, no kingdom, no government, no law can ever claim dominion over that which is eternal and infinite," end quote. George MacDonald, quote, "The soul belongs to no system, no law, but only to the infinite love from which it was created," end quote. Dion Fortune in The Cosmic Doctrine, quote, "The soul is a law unto itself, bound by no code of men, and answerable only to the divine forces from which it sprang. Earthly papers and seals are but shadows, failing to touch the eternal light within," end quote. Paracelsus in the Caelum Philosophorum, quote, "The soul, having its origin in the stars and the divine mind, can never be bound by the artifices of men. Paper and ink may mark a name, but they shall never touch the sacred fire of the spirit," end quote. Jacob Boehme in the book Aurora, quote, "No king, no emperor, no law of men can rule the soul. It is the breath of God, free as the wind, and it is subject to no earthly dominion," end quote. Franz Bardon, Initiation into Hermetics, quote, "The body is but a vessel. The soul, however, is the divine essence, which cannot be subjected to the laws of the material world. Legal instruments are the tools of man, while the soul remains eternally sovereign," end quote. P.D. Ouspensky, a student of Gurdjieff, in The Fourth Way, quote, "Man's true being is of another world, beyond the limitations imposed by earthly laws and documents. The soul is not a possession to be recorded or claimed," end quote. Sri Aurobindo in The Life Divine, quote, "The spirit that inhabits the body is not bound by the conventions of the world. No record can capture its essence. No law can claim its ownership, for it belongs to the infinite," end quote. Giordano Bruno, quote, "Man is not defined by his name or his station, but by the eternal spark within him. The laws of men are written on paper, but the laws of the soul are written in fire," end quote. Carl Jung, quote, "The soul is not bound to time or space, and certainly not to the laws of men. It moves within the collective unconscious, where no government or institution may reach it," end quote. So, these particular documents, now, this is referred to as the soul plate. Now, these particular things, they are only one of the documents, because there is an original. It's either the application for Certificate of Live Birth, or there's a document that's actually called the Certificate of Live Birth. Either way, it's connected to the file number that is referenced on the copies on the long form and other things like that. Now, these particular documents aren't the originals. These are copies issued by the hospital that actually recorded the footprints or the soles of the feet. And they usually have a gold seal. They're usually signed by the hospital administrator or the overseeing party by the hospital and the one that certified the birth. Now, what they state later is that these, soul plates, the original that actually has the footprints on it, gets sent to the state. So this is where that note actually passes to. So, and this is what actually causes the presumption of death, because they consider those the soul of the grand tour that's being conveyed. So, you have another example here, has the mother's thumbprint. It has the footprints as shown here. And, the date of birth and all that. I'm not sure whether these people are living or dead, so I've redacted their names. But these give you an idea what it's like. Now, this is an example of birth registration. And notice where it's from, Department of Commerce. So this is a very serious thing. When they talk about conversion, they use unlawful conversion because they want to convert or controvert the matter. So now the other thing to note is the name on the birth certificate is not you. The only thing that name represents is a placenta and an afterbirth. The genetic material that your mother unwittingly donated and the state used to bind you to adhesion contracts and all sorts of manners of spells. It's also another essential thing to note that grammar, when you look up the etymology of grammar, and out of etymology, we have grammar. Latin grammar, rules of Latin. Latin is considered the language of the dead. A lot of the spells, most if not all spells for witchcraft are written in Latin. And it says, grammar learning, especially Latin and philology. Also, magic, incantation, spells. The art of letters. So it says the rules of a language to which speakers and writers must conform. A treatise on grammar is from 1520s. For the magic sense, compare grammary. Grammar. Also, learning, erudition, hence, magic, enchantment. Late 15th century. A variant of grammar. Perhaps from Old French Grimoire, grammaire, grammar. Also, quote, book of conjuring or magic, end quote. Hence, modern French Grimoire. Gibberish, incomprehensible nonsense. Grammarye was revived by Scott, Lay of the Last Minstrel, in the dark magic sense. Linked entries, Grimoire. A Magician's Manual for Invoking Demons, 1849. From French grimoire, altered from grammaire, incantation, grammar. Also compare grammary or glamour. And out of Anderson's Law Dictionary, birth, see abandon, natus venter. Out of the Born Alive Infants Protection Act, Title I, United States Code, subsection 8. Person, human being, child, and individual, as including born alive infant. A. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress, or of any ruling, regulation, or interpretation, of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States. The words person, human being, child, and individual shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapiens, who is born alive at any stage of development. As used in this section, the term born alive with respect to a member of the species Homo sapiens means the complete expulsion or extraction from his or her mother of that member. Sounds a little bit like that afterbirth and placenta. At any stage of development, who after such expulsion or extraction breathes or has a beating heart, pulsation of the umbilical cord, or definite movement of voluntary muscles, regardless of whether expulsion or extraction occurs as a result of natural or induced labor, cesarean section, or induced abortion. Key note, they make no differentiation between natural or induced labor, C-section, or abortion. So, you have a certificate of live birth, and birth means abandon. And you have the child or person or individual being considered a member of the Homo sapiens, which is a hominin of the order of primates, not men as son of Adam. There's a very distinct classification and two very distinct kingdoms under taxonomy. And you have all of those different terms not differentiating between something living and something aborted. So you have an abandoned baby or child brought into their care, and there's no differentiation between whether it's living or dead. And no one's there to claim it. And, they have this afterbirth and placenta to show that there's a, quote, missing child. So, very clearly, we see that everything is not as it was taught, especially growing up. There's quite a bit to unlearn. So, this is an example. It says it was filed with the Vital Statistics Office. So, all of these different definitions and rules and constructions, syntax, they're taxing sin tax. So, all these different things are different spells. The Grimoires, invoking different demons that they're placing with these capital letter names. And I know this seems like such a far-fetched concept, but when you really look at the same records and you really see what they're doing, it is considered statecraft or witchcraft. And it's the methodology of using words and language to keep one bound in a fixed state against someone else's will. And this is how this is being done, to claim the souls of men and women. So, this is a very serious topic. We already show here that it goes to Vital Statistics, the birth registration process, which they have ceased to do as it was too informative. It goes to the Department of Commerce. There are Mortmain accounts. So, in places like Puerto Rico, and eventually, somehow after getting past the DTC or the DTCC, it ends up with the Vatican. And you have the soul being alienated from the body. This is why there's the spells and presumptions of death. Now, this is a form of soul contract that must be terminated. And only you have the right to break this spell. So no one else can do it for you, because you're ultimately the one that has to live with this. So, as Queen Ravenna said in Snow White, by Fair's blood it was done. and only by fairest blood can it be undone. Only you have the power to break the spell and destroy her. So, only you have the power to break the spell and destroy the witch. This is noted in stories of the stork and the heron carrying the babies in the knapsack in its bill. This is other things. I recommend watching The Boy and the Heron, the Studio Ghibli. It was very informative and with regards to this. However, the other thing too is this is all in the public domain. So, anyone attempting or seeking to impose a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, there's no significant public interest to even require a non-disclosure agreement. So be very wary and cautious about anyone, private parties, government officials, secret societies, etc., demanding oaths of secrecy or non-disclosure. Again, a lot will determine how you find this information. If you find it from the public records, it's already there in the public. None of it's really secret. It's just not very well known. But this is something that it needs to be dealt with. Another example of this is in the scripture, in the Torah. When it was talking in Exodus, dealing specifically with the midwives. And the midwives in their duties and offices protected the Hebrew man children. All of the male children they protected. Now, how was this done? Well, they claimed that the babies were already delivered. Now, what is delivery? Delivery is dealing with the ancient practice of conveyancing via livery in season or livery in deed. And these different methods are based on old symbols or tokens of land to convey the whole thereof. There are many different rituals in the public that, are examples and illustrations of this in modern day. One is that tree planting ceremony that a lot of presidents do. This is an example of using the tree or the twig, the branch, as the token for the entire piece of land. So there's quite a large practice with this. This goes back generations, hundreds of years, back to the practices of Egypt and Mizrahim. So do your own due diligence. Like I said, a lot of this regards presumptions of death. That's something I would research heavily. And, I've covered other things with regards to this. Check out the STKV videos for more information or some of the lives. But this is giving you a little bit of information. This is a very serious thing. So one thing I'd like to note also, that's very, very essential to note, is stop calling yourself the name on the birth certificate. That name on that birth certificate is not you, and it does not identify you. The only thing that thing identifies is the placenta and afterbirth that was taken from you in the hospital, that your mother, like I said, did not know what she was doing and mistakenly gifted or granted it to the state to claim ownership of you. So, like I said, do your own due diligence. This is something that you have to take care of. So, because if you don't take care of this, it'll take care of you. And they'll bury you in debt among the dead, the debt. So, something else that's another important reference is Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those that love it eat the fruit thereof. And to correct what I said prior, they do still do the birth registration process. but they don't give notice of it like they used to. They used to have to give notice for certain things. Now they've just codified it in other places, just so people are aware. Just had to correct what I said earlier. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, share this with other people that you know. If you'd like to schedule a consultation with me one-on-one, I do offer private consultations. I don't charge for the first 30 minutes to find out whether I'm able to assist you in your matter or not. And after 30 minutes, I do charge $75 per hour with 1 hour minimums just for my time. I do offer trust preparation services, assisting with the preparation for the documents for the trust. For this, it does take me more time, so for that I charge $250. For these things, please bear in mind, I am working 12 to 15 hours a day, 6 days a week. So again, please, like I said, I've had a significant demand for consultations and trusts lately, so I do have them available. Like I said, just please be aware that there might take a little bit longer, but within the time frame of about a week and a half to 2 weeks. I do work them in the order that I receive them, so I don't skip over anyone. I do my best to answer any questions that I can. Like I said, I have been very, very busy, but I do have, time to, be able to take, new consultations and new trusts. We just have to, figure out what works best for the both of us. So if you'd like to set up something like that, please head over to my website. I have the link in the description. Go ahead and fill out that contact form and send that over, and I'll get back to you as soon as I'm able to. If you don't hear back from me within like 2 to 3 days, please go ahead and send an email to tobefruitfultg@gmail.com, and we'll find a time that works best for both of us. Now, if you aren't necessarily looking for that per se, but you just want to get involved and find out more, we do have the exclusive equity live discussions live on YouTube on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we do I do my best to answer the questions that I get in the chat as best as I'm able to. Mind you, I can't cover everything in the public. There are certain acts of Congress and other limitations concerning the public trust that not everything can be put out there. Some things have to be handled privately. For those things that I have to handle privately, I do have the private equity weekly workshop where we go over those things, like I said, that we don't go over on Thursdays. It is via Zoom, so there is the presentation of the material each week for a period of time. Then I take the specific questions in regards to that information, and then I just open it up for a general Q&A. So if you have something there that you'd like to ask and the chat isn't quite there yet, we do have slots available for that class. So just go ahead and email me at tobefruitfultg@gmail.com. I do request a donation of $25 monthly, just to cover operating costs and service fees, things like that, to keep everything running. And that's something that's been going on every week. I'm grateful for all of the engagement that everyone has. I do have other services available. Please check out my website. If you need assistance with SKV papers, I do have that as well. Estate papers, things like that. Preparing those to be recorded. I do handle other matters as well, as long as it's within the realm of equity and mainly and equitable jurisprudence. I do handle that on a case-by-case basis. So Like I said, I'm very grateful for all the engagement that that I have, and thank you for staying tuned in. I will have more videos posted, like I said, as I'm able to. I hope this shed a little bit of light on the current state of affairs. And with that, the number one thing that you always have to do: all praises and glory to the Most High. This is B with 2B Fruitful Training Group, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.